say hi to the bad guy on the Hump Day edition of Outlaw Radio. Welcome to the show. It's your man, 50 Grand, Kevin Barnes, a.k.a. the Negro Whisperer, a.k.a. the world-class smartass. And I'm here to bring you Outlaw Radio, cold-blooded, on a Wednesday night, man. I'm not alone. We gonna have a good time tonight, man. Mr. Carter, what's popping with you, man?
Peace, man. Life, man. I'm alive in this motherfucker. How y'all doing out there? Welcome to Outlaw Radio, where we talk that talk and we definitely walk that walk. Raise vibrations and elevating thought. Y'all better come on in. I'm trying to tell you, I am the black woman lover, the black man's brother, the culture teacher, the hood healer, the ghetto witch doctor. I'm your holistic health and wellness coach, Mr. Kamar Carter. Peace to the family. I'm also the one who brings you Nature's Nature Herbs and Supplements. You can find that on Facebook, Nature's Nature Herbs and Supplements, just like that. Or you can go to my Facebook page, Healthy Self, Heal Thyself, ask about Nature's Nature Herbs and Supplements, and somebody gonna point you in my direction. Or you can go to my page, inbox me, and I'll tell you how to get your Nature's Nature Herbs and Supplements, just like that. You dig? Kev, what up,
man? One of my biggest thrills is listening back to the show sometimes and listening to that Kamar fumble his intro. I can tell when he get lost into the I am the world class. I mean, which you're like, okay. It's funny, man. It's great though, man. Welcome to the show. Mr. Hefner's in the building. What's going on, my brother?
I'm happy to be here. How y'all doing this evening?
Man, we good. You always happy to be here. I am happy to be here, Kevin. I am on Outlaw Radio. My people will be so proud of me. Then I got my big little brother. I can't say that. I got to just say big brother because he got me in some numbers. He got me by a few. But he back for the first time. I'm not going to even call him a guest. Like I said, what's happening, Vince? What's going on?
Not a whole heck of a lot. I just appreciate you guys having me on. In case someone comes on and want to have some questions about the automatic District 1 and what I might be doing when elected to be the district alderman. So, there's 5 positions that are open by the end of the month. Hopefully, the Common Council will, make a decision to not do anything or have any serious votes on anything until they can get those seats filled, because it's very unpopular and should be unpopular for 1/3 of the Common Council to not be represented. So hopefully they can get something done. I mean, they got something done when Mayor Barrett left. They got an interim, so figure out what they need to do to get something done before April of next year.
That's what's up, man. And if y'all didn't hear, it's Vince Toney. He's running for 1st District Alderman. And we're going to talk about that tonight, as well as a lot of other things. We're normally on Mondays and Wednesdays, right? I'm supposed to do the Big Black Sports Show.
If Vince don't win, man, we're going to do like Trump people, and we're going to go storm something.
I didn't get a chance to do the Big Black Sports Show last night because me and Ian crossed wires. Shout out to ENC Jordan. We'll get it together. But we'll bring that. So Mondays, Wednesdays, the number is 262-202-5131, 262-202-5131. With that said, once again, shout out to my sister, Shanketer White. She said, good evening, Kings. What's happening, my sister? How you doing? Peace. Hey, share the show, Justice for Denari Peer. Shout out to the family. And the other night, I said Jackie Peer. It was the dad. It wasn't the mom. I thought it was the mom because it was watching on YouTube. I know. Damn, Kev. I spent 2 hours referring to this man as she. She said. I don't understand why he just didn't say.
Hey, he could have. I was gonna say, man, he could have said something.
Yeah, he could have just said, "Kev, it's me, Pops." My fault, Because on the show, I thought they were calling him Lamont, right. I thought that's what it was. Shout out to Joey Phillips, man, my big homie, my big brother. You already know. Shout out to Joey Phillips. What's up to you, OG, triple OG? Peace. But so back to the business while we got Mr. Toney here. And once again, the number's 262-202-5131. If you have a question for Vince in regards to what his platform will be, what problems he wants to address, what he wants to take on, You can call and ask him all that good stuff. The first thing I'm gonna ask you is this, Vince. Do you identify yourself as a Republican or a Democrat? Are you, or and in terms of your politics, would you say you're conservative or you're to the left? How would you define yourself?
I can't define myself with anything that exists today. I mean, we have two parties that I don't think represent our best interests. I think when it comes to anything, whether it's Republican or Democrat, if it works for the people, then we can go ride with it. But if it doesn't, we don't ride with it, because I think a lot of things that, everybody expect for us to be Democrats, and if they pick somebody for us to vote for, if they're black, we're supposed to vote for them. I'm in total disagreement with that. I think anybody that comes up and wants to vote and wants to play politics, then they have to present themselves and their ideas and their philosophies and what they're going to do. But that doesn't happen a whole heck of a lot in the community. I'm willing to step out and on the table, on the plate, or whatever, and tell you exactly what I think and how I feel about things. And one thing that I do think, and it's good. I mean, I think I could probably be the mayor, but I don't want to do things at the a macro level. I'd prefer at a micro level, in the automatic district, where I can have a good niche of people in one area that I'm responsible for, to answer to, and that's what I want to do, is to be able to answer to people and their needs in the district and have them heard. And when the Common Council comes up with something for our district, for example, low income housing and things of that nature, if the people in that area don't subscribe to it, then they shouldn't have to deal with it. So,
But no, but you're going to run as a Democrat, though, correct? Or are you going to run independent?
I guess I'm going to be running as an independent.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you can call me whatever you want to call me. You can call me Republican, a Democrat, or whatever you want to call me. I'm Vince Tony at the end of the day. So,
right. But Vince, on the ballot, though, you got to have an initial behind your name, brother. You got to have an R or a D.
No.
Okay. Okay.
You don't.
Okay.
I'm an independent then.
So right now,
yeah,
our official statement is that you're running as an independent.
We can say that. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Cool.
Independent. I mean, we got two parties, so I don't have any alliances with either party, so I'm an independent. Yes. Okay. From that perspective. Yeah.
Go ahead, Kamar.
I feel like this is the start of what we was talking about the other day when we said we need our own lane. And independent, I feel like would be our lane. Is just that we need to figure out how to get our people on code as far as to know that, to even look that route. You know what I'm saying? To vote that route.
Yeah. Okay, but let's talk turkey about politics, especially in the city of Milwaukee, down at Tammany Hall, which some of y'all call City Hall. I call it Tammany Hall.
Yosemite Hall.
So now, if you know about Boss Tweed, and you know about Tammany Hall and the machine and all that from a historical perspective, they draw some real tight parallels. But what I'm saying is, when you get down there into those hallways and into those offices, it becomes party affiliated, because if you're elected, and the first district is a pretty prominent district, here comes the Democrats. Vince, we got this much money for you. You should come on in. You just tell them no.
No, it ain't gonna happen. I think I've told people a long time ago, you can give me all the money in the world, I'm not gonna sell out my people, period.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's that simple. So I prefer, people keep telling me, well, you need X amount of dollars to run. Well, like I said in the beginning of my post when I announced it, is that win, lose, or draw, I'm gonna be happy. But I'm not gonna be one out here begging people for money. So if my knocking on doors and talking to people and that doesn't work, then I'll just continue to be who I am and represent my neighborhood. But I'm not going to sit up here and tell you that I'm going to go out there and beg for money and try to have $1 million or $25,000 to go out here and talk about people. I'm going to just talk about me and what I'm going to do. Now, if someone wants to have a conversation with me or debate with me, we can have that. I'm not afraid.
We got to get some signage, though. We got to get some signs.
Yeah, we get that. I've got that already.
Okay,
so that's yeah, I've got some things, some inexpensive stuff, but I'm not going out there. It's a district. I'm not running for the mayor. I'm not running for the presidency. It's one district. So I'm going to cover the district.
That's what's up. What's up. Now, in terms of securing signatures, the process.
That's an easy one.
Okay. I'm actually running this down
Here's what happened the last
for
time,
people
Kev.
who don't know.
Yeah. So I ran before, and the signature part of it, you have to have 200 signatures. Well, not knowing that you can fluff it, maybe you should get 250 just in case they find something wrong. Well, I got 213 signatures, right? And so Hamilton contested, meaning that they'll go in and look at all of my signatures. So I like to think of myself as a pretty efficient person. So if they go through the signatures and they find out that I've got 14 that they can't figure out who they are, and come below 200, then I'm not on the ballot. So they went through my signatures. Out of 213, 203 of them were valid. So I'm on the ballot. So it's a matter of understanding what they want. So there's a few mistakes that were made, and maybe a letter here, a letter there, or something happened where 10 people, they couldn't figure it out. So they got 203 that they figured out. So I was on the ballot. But that was a
Okay.
lesson learned too. So next time I'll get 220.
Let me ask you a question with that though. Shout out to Patience family. Y'all get in the chat room, come up with some questions for Vince. This is probably the only chance you'll get to really talk to somebody who wants to sit in office and be transparent about what they actually intend to do, right? And so we're going to talk about this system we deal with in Milwaukee. Patience Phillips, what's going on? She said, "Hey family, justice for Denari. Patience. Y'all keep pressing. Shout out to the peer family, man. Y'all keep pressing, man. It's coming. Um, share the show, share the show, share the show. Hashtag justice for Denari. Now, Vince, I know, and you know, okay, and you know that I know that you know
And we
that
know.
this city
That I
is
know.
built right on cronyism.
Yeah.
You know that it's built on cronyism. You know that relationships have to be built downtown in Tammany Hall if you're going to be able to get things done. Now, I hear you about I get it. It's just aldermanic district,
Mm-hmm.
right? But when you start talking about some of the things that happen in this district, they happen citywide. So you would have to then work with other alder persons to say, okay, because you have to vote, right, as a
Right.
common council on things.
Right. Absolutely.
So if you don't have any relationships with these individuals, then how do you plan on how do you navigate? If
Well, I
you
think
just don't,
I've been down there a few times, and I think from my understanding, this is my perspective. I think that, some backroom deals are made, all the persons to all the persons, and I've seen it. I've got some stories that were not horrific, but it's something that was unbelievable. As a matter of fact, I was down at the Common Council a couple of days ago. One of the guys, white guy in the district, had questioned about. And my battery's running low. Questioned me about something that was going on in their community. They've got a school in their community, and the community doesn't want them to convert it into low-income housing and affordable, things of that nature. So he asked me to come down. I went down, and which is pretty interesting. He had a very compelling argument of not wanting something in their community. And I can relate to that because about 10, 15 years ago, Ashante Hamilton came to one of our block watch meetings with a developer. And he says, well, we want to develop this area. And he asked us, well, what do you guys want in this area? And we told him we wanted housing in there. So lo and behold, there wasn't any more meetings held. And then all of a sudden they're building these apartment buildings, right? So I think we need people in the office down there that's going to represent the community. So this person was down there and he got pretty irate. He knew the developers. They came in there, they had some meetings, and they didn't have some meetings. They weren't invited, and people worked on Saturdays. They were having meetings when people weren't available, but he always found out and he kept track of it. He was down there to support this neighborhood. And as a matter of fact, one of the problems, black female was down there. I think her name is Miss Buchanan. And one of her concerns with the developers is that, well, you're going to develop this. You got this parking lot. And when people come in here, every time they turn, their lights are going to hit my house. So they hadn't done their due diligence. So they have to go back to the table. One thing I would like to say is that the alderman that was presiding over it, they didn't have representation, obviously, because Hamilton, scattered or whatever he did. So they said that Murphy said that they wouldn't make a decision on this until they had a sitting
can I ask you what school is What school is this?
I think it's Clayton over there
Oh,
off of, yeah. So it's been vacant, and they're talking about putting some low income housing and then some rent to own. And the person was Mr. Beckman was pretty adamant about and to rent to own. They talked about doing some of those things in my neighborhood, and we know that the probability of that happening when you're building, they had 48 they started with. They went down to 30, and 5 of them were going to be sold, and then so many of them are going to be rent to own. It's just confusing, and the people in the neighborhood are concerned about their property value going down. They say, well, rent to own is going to be a 5-year program. Say, what if these people don't buy in 5 years? Well, they come up with these excuses. Well, we have to wait and see. Well, why do we have to wait and see something that may not happen based upon what we've seen in other parts of the city that's not working? So the older person has to be there and has to be representative of the community. And one thing that I like to see change is that when something happens in the district, if you're not within a 200 feet radius, then you're not notified. So I think when something happens in the district, the entire district should know what's going on. So, if someone else in the community wants to come down and say, hey, we're in alliance with this person. So you may have 50 people that get notified when you've got thousands of people in the district. I think the entire district should know what's going on. That way, keep the older person honest.
okay. Let me first of all, let me get with the chat room. Patience Phillips says we need people in there that actually care about the community. It makes no sense that there are stores in our communities falling apart. Fast and Friendly should have been shut down. I know most of these places wouldn't pass inspections, but this is what happens when older people are bought. She
Mhm.
said, when older people are bought. Now I want to go because I grew up in the first district, and my former elementary school has sat vacant for a very long time. And there is a debate that maybe that should be turned into low income housing, and I disagree, and I wouldn't want to see that happen. And I don't even live over there no more. But I'm
Mhm.
gonna tell you why. Because it's a school that, if you really updated it, I think it could still serve as an excellent facility for kids, right? And I think that in terms of how many problems we have with the curriculum within MPS, and the fact that we have these super large learning achievement gaps, some effort by some body of people should be made to turn this into a school that services foundational Black American children. I'm talking about, you have a Hmong Academy, you have a French immersion school, you have all these different cultural buildings. Why not make an academy that's purposely built and established to serve foundational Black American children, right? Focus on literacy, focus on math, focus on science and STEM. Put the resources into the building that you would need to update it. You have money for everything. I thought I heard the state talking about some kind of $1 trillion surplus. I
Yeah.
thought there was millions of dollars coming from the COVID line. I thought there was community development block grant money. So I'm saying that the ability to do this, and that's still a beautiful neighborhood. So you do something like put low budget, low rent. I call them low budget. Um, I mean, that brings a certain element to the neighborhood, and I wouldn't want to see my former
You're right,
community.
Kev. You're right, Kev. I just feel like it would take us to start it, to put the plan together. You
Mhm.
know what I mean? Like, we can't expect them to come up with this school. You know what I mean? We can't. You see where I'm going with it? Like, we can't expect them to say, okay, this is the city of Milwaukee. We're gonna start this black school, foundational black school,
Right, right,
and
right, right,
you know
right.
what I mean? I think that's something that we will have to come up with a plan with, and then try to get the funding for it.
Well, okay. So here's the deal: for people saying, "Kev, that's crazy." Why is that crazy? When you see all the time, and shout out to all my fellow parents who have children going through this process right now. You think sending them way out to some school far out is the solution? Oh, that's a better school. You're gonna learn better out there. Not
Not
necessarily taking
necessarily.
into consideration that they have to fight an entirely different battle when they go to these schools in these places, where people of color are not wanted.
Yeah.
Right? They get treated and they get marginalized in a certain way. I'm not saying it can't work, because I have some brothers who say, Kev, nah, man, I send my kids out to Brookfield for high school. It's a much better district. And my kids are flourishing way more. And that might be true. If you're an attentive parent, though, an intentional parent, that's going to pretty much happen no matter what school you put them in. Because if you go in there and it's too bad, you're going to say, I'm taking you out. You're going somewhere else. You won't be here. You know what I mean? So I just think it's not a crazy idea to say, hey, man, maybe we should take some of these abandoned MPS buildings that they sitting on with a $3 billion budget, and let's develop something for Black children.
And
We
Kev,
keep why is they stealing? Why is they shooting? Why is they killing?
I think also they have to figure out, why are we in the predicament that we're in.
Dre Day, what's up?
I think part of it, to me, I went to a meeting some months ago with Howard Fuller and Aisha Carr, and they also had some Hmong there, and they're talking about the school system. Well, and building, I think Howard Fuller just mentioned just yesterday, I believe, that he's got a school. They broke ground for a school. Well, like you said, we've got these schools out here, and I think the major problem that we've had in the past is that we've gotten away from community-based schools. So when Howard Fuller helped them write the laws for charter schools, this, that, and the other, why weren't they building these schools that are currently in the neighborhood? What was the major problem? Was it learning? Was it at home? What's the problem that needed to be identified to be able to make these schools functional? Because it's not the building, it's what's put in there, the teachers and the students that make the school successful. So what made MPS unsuccessful, and how do we make it successful again? And the reason that I say that is because they're community-based schools. That means that when we started taking our kids out of the community, now all of a sudden, I walked to 12th Street, I walked to Robert Fulton, and I walked to North Division. So now you're busing everybody out everywhere. Now we're breaking up neighborhoods. So now kids aren't walking to school together. Nobody knows anybody. So now we're in this predicament where we got this society in the inner city where nobody knows anybody. Anybody don't give a shit about nobody, and we'll put a bullet in you in a heartbeat. Before that, everybody knew everybody, and there was a level of love throughout the community, and everybody talked. But we've torn our community completely apart by sending them elsewhere. Right. And we need to get back to community-based schools where our kids can be in the neighborhood. We can start back to talking to each other, the mothers, the fathers, the kids, and start walking together. And go on Sherwood every morning. You see hundreds of parents out there with their kids. We used to do that in our community. So we have to get back to, it's not about us anymore. It's about taking care of these babies, because it's going to be their world. And right now, we know that the reading levels and everything else in our schools is piss poor.
So shout out to, first of all, let me say this for the Howard Fuller Collegiate Academy. Shout out to them. I actually worked with them in a certain capacity last year. And shout out to them in their effort to do what they're doing for our kids into high school. But I'm talking elementary school. When I'm thinking about Phillips School, because it was an elementary school, I'm thinking, let's grab the babies early. Yeah. Let's make it intentional early. Don't wait. I ain't gonna wait till you 15 and you done been kind of spoiled by this environment that you've grown up in. And then I'm saying, I'm gonna send you somewhere where African Americans is empowered. They might not necessarily grasp it fast enough. But if it's imparted in them from the birth, from the inception into education, I think you'll see students that are way more successful when they get older. So, he said, man, no, I came up through a system. And then we get to my idea of splitting them up in 9th grade, saying, choose a area of study. Do you want to be vocational? Do you want to be liberal arts? Do you think you want to go into, science and this kind of mathematics, numbers? We can say, now you go down a curriculum that takes you towards that, as opposed to this one size fits all approach that we allow MPS to get billions of dollars to not even be able to fully put in place. Right? All the money they have, they're still failing our children. And that's a conversation that needs to be had downtown. That's a conversation that needs to be had in Scammony Hall, right? Patience Phillips said, bring arts programs back to school. It's, it's good that, now I see a lot of that stuff coming back. When I was a school teacher for MPS, I was there under the No Child Left Behind joint under Bush. So I did 6 years under that. And man, I'm talking about I literally worked in a building where it was called a multicultural art school, and we have no art, and it wasn't multicultural at all. They should rename this shit. You know what I mean? So we have to get the kids early. I guess that's my point. That's where I was going. So when I look
So,
at the
yeah,
first district,
here's my question. You say get the kids early. So I volunteer at youth centers, and we've got kids at the age that you're talking about that can't read, can't write, don't know their math. So we're populating. My question to Howard Fuller would be: we're going to populate your school with what? Kids that can't read and can't write. How do you develop them when they come in there? They can't read and they can't write. So, and if you're going to this one school, your school, then how many students are at this particular school, and what are we going to do about the other thousands of kids that are not being taken care of? So we got a big problem here that we're putting a band-aid on it.
when I started talking about that, first of all, Phillip is not the only vacant elementary school that's sitting in that area, because Green Bay Avenue, once the jig was up with what were they called, Universal Academy or whatever, who was down with your man's from Philly. What's the songwriter dude? Ain't no stopping us now. The dude with the song. They had investments because these schools, these charter schools, and they had Green Bay Avenue, huge school. So you have all these you have all these elementary buildings. So you won't actually lose. It won't be just about, oh, you got to go to Phillip in order to get this. If we make this a community thing where all over the city, where there's these schools that MPS is saying, well, we don't use that no more, or even to develop some new facilities. But the focus should be on educating our kids, so by the time they get to a Howard Fuller, they're exceptional readers. They are exceptional at math. Now, what I was saying to you about that is, it is a tremendous challenge for you to get all of a sudden people who kids have been kicked out or unsuccessful at other schools want to make this a dumping ground for. Okay, you get kicked out of here. I'm gonna put you in Howard Fuller. Now, all of a sudden, we got a building full of kids who've been kicked out of 5, 6 other schools, and I don't think y'all know how prominent that is in MPS. When I coached for MPS, we would get kids, and he'd come out for football. He'd come out late. You say, man, how you gonna come out in the middle of September? Well, I just transferred here. Well, what happened? Oh, I got kicked out of Vincent. For what? Fighting. Okay, so you've been at Vincent. Well, I went to Riverside my freshman year. What happened there? I got kicked out of there too. This your third high school, and you got a bunch of these same kids in the building together. What you think about to happen? They're about to get it on. It's about to be some shit. People, they gonna go to. I mean, they do what they do.
They're gonna start a new game.
Yeah,
Right.
I've got an 11-year-old that I've been mentoring since November of last year. The scenario you just described, and kicked out of 3 different schools. Yes, he has, and he's spent his entire summer in detention. So we've got a lot of these coming up in our community. So we can put up this Howard Fuller building, but we don't have students to populate. And then the other question becomes, where are we going to get the teachers from?
That's true too. And I'll tell you something else about putting
And
up that
where's the
building.
money coming from? There's a lot of questions that need to be answered. But at the bottom line is that, where are these kids at now? There's a Wall Street Journal that came out the other day that we can't read. I mean, if you can't read, you're not going anywhere.
Goddamn right. Shout out to Patience Phillips. She said, I went to Elman Roosevelt, having those outlets. She's talking about art and whatnot made a huge difference for us. She said, Milwaukee College Prep has a great program. They just lack the funding. We have to support schools that are working. That's true. But I don't know what the controversy was with the whole Marva Collins thing at Milwaukee College Prep, but they do have a really good program. They do, and especially for Black kids, they do have a really good thing going over there. And they don't get a whole lot of credit. I would say Ocean Shira Tompkins. I am Remedial, 262-202-5131. Outlaw Radio, cold-blooded, because it snowed outside. And because don't nobody care. People say all the time, how you doing? I say I'm all right, but even if I had complaints, who would give a shit, right? Like, nobody cares. So who cares? Cold-blooded. It's a cold world we live in, man. People get dragged all the time. In terms of the school thing, I wanted to say, Vince, you made a good point about the building, because one of the most beautiful facilities that you will find in this city is North Division.
That's
And
where I
on any
know. That's where I went.
yes, and rest in peace to my man who's the principal, because I worked with him. Man, I can't remember. How am I forgetting his name? I worked with cool cat, man. He just died. He loved that school. He was a great principal. The building's not even a quarter occupied. They don't even use the top floor. It's like a conference center. You know, I mean, they might have had 300 kids in the school, of which maybe 175 was in the building every day. And that's a beautiful facility. They still have the medical stuff, the dental stuff. Just it's just such a waste. I don't know that they use the basement either. Carrington, Mr. Carrington. How could I forget that? Rest in peace to Keith Carrington. He passed right before the school year started. But he loved them kids and he loved North Division. But I'm just saying, you got that facility sitting there, and you know the kids that usually are in there are kids, like I said, who've been kicked out of other schools, or you're getting kids from 53206. If you know about 53206, you know about 53206. Those kids deal with some crazy circumstances. And so you have kind of like a crazy situation. Let me see. I'm gonna call her Miss Tompkins. She said it's not under the funding of MPS. This is why they lack funds. Or she's talking about uh uh
Charters.
Milwaukee Collegiate Academy, or what was it called? What she
Yeah.
said it was called? The old Marva Collins joint. But yeah, so yeah, we have to make changes in how we handle our kids. And I think I agree with you. Community schooling is very important. I think we got to bring that back. We got to bring that back, because we all went to neighborhood schools. Like when we were coming up, it was like you had a neighborhood school unless you got in a citywide program.
Yeah.
You know, and you went to one of those. Was it King Tech, Riverside,
Madison.
Juno, and what was the other one? I don't know. I don't know what the other one. But then the other ones like Marshall and Custer and Tech. But Marshall and Madison and Vincent, those were all like neighborhood schools.
Yeah.
Like, you know, you live out here, you go here. So
When I was growing up in West Line, everybody in West Line basically went to Madison.
okay.
You went to either John Muir or Burroughs, then you went to Madison.
Right. Yeah. So very important, man. But then my other question to you, Vince, is this. Because we know the one thing that has changed in that district since my parents purchased a home over there in 1970, and we stayed in the house until like 2013 after my mom passed. Crime in the area, vandalism, especially car thefts and garage break-ins and stuff like that. You talked about a notification system. And in my mind, I started thinking about, are we talking about something internet-based, something that sends out text messages to let people know what's going on in the district? How I want to ask you about that. What idea
Well, I
do you
think,
have?
I was talking to a gentleman, that mentioned being able to have a source in every district that collaborates with each other, that can let everybody know, that knows what's going on, and even to the point or the extent where if someone's going to come up for election, that position, that the districts are talking to each other to communicate the people that want to run for these offices, to get information or quality information out about these individuals that wants to run, so we can have something that we can make an informed decision about. Right now, we just vote because people are black or whatever. We need to have some substance behind anybody that wants to be elected in our community, and start educating our people. We're ignorant of some things, but we can start educating people about what's going on in the community and collaborate and have a body of a group of people in each district, or one person that each district can answer to and come to, and then spread the information throughout the district. And the alder person, some type of a report card that the alder persons have to subscribe to. So there's a check and balance when you come into this office. There's certain things that we expect of you, and here's what we're going to judge you on.
So I think I misheard you, because I was thinking some sort of alert system.
No, I don't know anything about any other than getting back to the point of neighbors knowing each other.
And shit.
Yeah. So I mean, the only thing I can think of is, I know my neighbors. So it's getting back to communicating with each other within the community, within the neighborhood. And like we go to school together, like we were talking earlier. Well, we had somebody that was gifted and talented, but that person came back to the neighborhood and was welcome. So you're not coming back to some invisible spot where everybody's fighting and killing each other. So somehow or another, we just have to start getting back to communicating with each other as a community, as a neighborhood.
How could you would obviously have the influence to go to down to the district, to the police department, and say these are areas in the neighborhood that are particularly harried. What can you do in terms of patrol? Like, do you have a plan of even working with the police in the district to say, look, man, we gotta make these areas more safe? And
Right.
I always in my big ideas, I'm thinking you put these blue phones all over college campuses. If just in case it's an emergency, why can't we do community phones with cameras on them, with alarms on them, and impose a super superb fine if you hit a false alarm, right? And so people, when they see something, they can jump on the phone and say, hey, or even some satellite police departments, small storefronts, because how many vacant storefronts do we have?
Right.
Some of these can be converted into satellite
Well, I
police
think-
stations, populated by maybe 6-8 officers,
if
a
the
couple
police
of cars.
department is willing to work with the community. So we've got DRS in my neighborhood, which is a government contractor. Unfortunately, they're leaving and taking over 400 or 500 livable wage paying jobs with them. So they were having some problems, and if you're an employee, you're coming to work, the streets are narrow. You might have somebody that's in the middle of the street, they can't get past. Well, they've got a satellite office at that organization, also at DRS, right? However, in the community, we've had instances where, we may stop them, or when neighbors have stopped them and said something to them and say, well, that's not what we're here for. So it's a matter of getting the alderperson and the police department together and saying,
Okay.
hey, this is what has to happen. If it doesn't happen, then we start talking to the people, and that
There we
police.
go.
Yeah. So I think, Kev, is that I've had a conversation. I'm not going to talk about it here with the police captain, the chief, and I wasn't impressed by his answer about over my area, the hotspot area, where we've had problems for years. He didn't give me an answer of how to take care of it. I was ex-military. If something happened in the fucking Navy on the Navy base, the shit got taken care of, right? So we've got police in the department are saying that shit is happening in your area, but we can't do shit about it. I think that's fucked up, and I'll excuse my language, but we need police
You
department.
just won my vote. The
Yeah.
fact I'm tired of people acting like they don't cuss. I need a politician to cuss in their speech.
Oh, yeah.
Like, this city is fucked up.
I'm a Navy, so they say I cuss like a sailor, boss. So
Hey, it's some bullshit.
Right.
Exactly.
Get off your ass and vote. That's my slogan for my campaign. Get off your ass and vote. Get off your funky ass and vote. Right? No, it's all already. Look, my chat room is popping.
Yeah.
The ladies are having a very, very poignant conversation because they were talking about the funding for schools. And Miss Tompkins, I can't say your first name, Ocean Shira Tompkins. It's not under the funding of MPS. That was about the charter schools. Parents are not supporting through funds and relying on MPS to do all of the support. Yes, they do. Parents really lazy, just real lazy. That's another thing that contributes to the illiteracy, but I'm gonna get on that later. Patience Phillips says they fundraise all the time. She said those funds are not enough for the support of our children, current condition and curriculum. I'm behind because the fellas was running their mouth. I'm gonna blame it on them. Patience said Ms. Tompkins charter schools get funded through the city, not just as much as an MPS school, but no MPS elementary school performs like they do. So those funds are irrelevant and they know it. Damn, I missed all of this. That facts. So they even bring fundraising up as a deflection and a projection as they are sufficient. I don't even know. I don't even know if I read that right. I'm a teleprompter reader. I'm trying to tell you. I said it's not enough. Y'all might have to call in, sisters. Y'all might have to call in. You said parents don't support. My point was they do. That's what Patience said. to Miss Tompkins. So we caught up. So yes, it's Outlaw Radio, man.
I think they should call in. That's
Yeah,
some
yeah.
interesting
262
conversation.
5131. In the words of T.R. Arthur, I got my flip phone on tonight. Rail and Kamar, how y'all doing, man? Y'all all right? Y'all
All
feeling
right,
good?
all
Y'all
Oh
right,
straight?
all
yeah, most definitely.
right.
Okay, okay. Vince, you know, you my man, 50 grand, and I just want what I want this to serve as is a transparent conversation for people who live in the district who are, and that's kind of like why I put the Capital Drive born and bred thing on promoting the show, because that's first district. If you know, you know, right? Like, so I want to see that neighborhood get back to what it once was. Because I'm telling you, I grew up over there, and it was Chocolate City. It's the most beautiful place you ever been. And I go like I'm growing up in the '70s when shit was popping and everybody had new Lincolns and goddamn Oldsmobiles and shit, and the trees formed a canopy over the street where the sun rarely even touched us in the summer.
Yeah.
Beautiful homes, homeowners, you know, business owners. The alderman Marvin Pratt lived across the alley. People who owned, you know, Perkins restaurant, all they lived in the neighborhood. It's just it was so many black entrepreneurs, and it's gone the way of the dinosaur. So I drive through there occasionally still, and I just say, man, it's not the same. It's not the same vibe. So um no matter what we talk about, at the center of this is jobs. And you just said that a major employer, prominent employer, and it's one of a couple different ones who have vacated our turf in the past few years. So we want to talk
Right.
about
So we've
that.
got, I mean, over the last 10, 15 years, Eden Corporation moved to Menominee Falls. I think this past last year or this past summer, was it Astronomics moved to Oak Creek, and now we've got DRS moving to Menominee Falls. So, Kev, we talk about jobs. These are livable wage paying jobs. So I can't tell you how to bring them back. I mean, but the question becomes, how do we make the first district an area that would attract new business and new
Mhm.
companies? That's what has to be focused on. So there has to be people in downtown or other businesses that are out in the world trying to sell Milwaukee, the inner city. But we have to prepare the inner city to be receptive to new business.
Exactly.
And
And
how
it,
do we do that? And I can tell you for a fact that one of the reasons that DRS is moving is because of some of the communications that they've had with people in office. It hasn't been in their favor, even though they had some favoritism, which I don't see why the alderman and the mayor who put in a lot of money in that organization weren't down there and said, hey, even though you're moving to Menominee Falls, can you leave a satellite crew? Can you leave something here? Everything is gone, gonna go, Cav. So I, as an older person, the only thing I can say is and who do we have out in the world trying to track new business, new investment in the first district? That's what we have to look for.
yeah, between Ale Smith, where that's located, and Eden and all of that stuff over there, there's enough that area needs to be. So you can't just develop, build low income housing. You have to build facilities that house things as well. Now, I have to ask this question because I just had this conversation with a brother of mine the other night, in which he said, I'm not buying this shit about it ain't no jobs here. I'm gonna quote him. He said, niggas just don't want to work.
That too.
It's plenty jobs here. And there you go places and they're saying we don't have enough employees. Jobs are right now doing online virtual interviews, hiring you on the spot. I know this to be true because I was a job coach for the housing authority for a couple years. And I had such a hard time getting people to actually apply because they was caught up in this limbo between their benefits and how they were allowed to live. So it's like, if I only make this much money, I'll only have to pay this much rent. So I'm not gonna try to get no job because it's gonna make my rent go up. But my thing used to always be, you should try to get a good job so you won't have to deal with this shit and you can just move and pay your rent or your mortgage somewhere else. Now I did work with some residents down there, and shout out to these sisters and a couple brothers who got their family up out of there. They went through the whole home buyer thing, first time home buyer program. They took advantage of all of the grants and the stuff that they can get, and they got their families out of there. But I'm just saying that's also a job on how we get these youngsters back to work. And let me catch my chat room still cracking, y'all. Joey said, where are the folks at that came from Blockwatch from back in the day? with the sign of the eye in the window to ensure crime members knew that they was being watched. I'm
I
still in
think,
the
yeah,
same
part of that is
neighborhood.
that people feel disenfranchised. I think the neighborhood and the community has been on a demise for so long. Most of the people are that she's talking about that had these signs are elders right now, and I can tell you for a fact, I was a block watch lead in my area, and COVID shut that down. But I still communicate with the elders, and they are afraid to come outside. Kev, I don't care what you have in your window. There's so much chaos and confusion and crime and killing going on that our elders are afraid to
Right.
come outside, and trying to galvanize some of these young people to get together and do something positive is like pulling teeth.
He said JoJo said, "Oh, you still over there, Joey?" He said, "Oh, I forgot his." Yeah, I forgot. Joey said he's still over there. He said and he's sick of the crime. And one thing about it is I heard, and I was telling my son this one time. I was watching the news and they said somebody had gotten shot on feed brands, and I'm like, feed brands? Nobody gets shot on feed brands, man. Like I grew up right there, right? Like so, feed brands was at the bottom of my block. Top was Capitol, bottom was feed brands, right? So nothing ever happened on feed brands unless somebody flying down the street in a car, right?
They
When
flying.
so but now it's like where people are getting killed. So yeah, that crime is crazy over there. I know it's went up because when I left there in 2013, my cars had been broken into repeatedly, all of them. Garage broken into, neighbors, stuff going on in the alley, gunshots in the alley. I'm like, dude, this shit used to never happen when I was growing up over here. So the crime is an issue. Miss Tompkins said, let's call in. Kamara Tyler said, first of all, how about start supporting the small businesses you do have in the city of Milwaukee? And you know what? I can honestly say, if anybody in this city who does what I do has promoted small businesses, especially black businesses, we have here on Outlaw Radio. You got the ultimate entrepreneur up in the corner here, Mr. Carter. I seen this movie, so I know a dollar in a dream, right? To building a whole team. I've sat through this, so we support that. And I know Vince, you do too, and I know Vince does because any apparel I've ever had, let me get that. Coffee mugs, hoodies, t-shirts, whatever. Kamar, same thing. Kamar, let me get some people from our show call Kamar. They put their orders in. Some of them don't even watch the show. They just come on here to say, Kamar, I need to holler at you. Then they be out. I'm like, fair weather ass dude.
Right.
But
Yeah, but and Kev, I think it also goes to what type of small businesses are we opening up? Are we're opening up something that's going to be successful, that's going to grow and be able to hire?
okay.
Now you've got one person. When are you gonna be able to ramp up to 10 people, 20 people to make a difference in the community? Because a small business is a small business, but hopefully, like major corporations, that is gonna grow. So is it something that's gonna grow? Or are we just wasting money, giving somebody some money, and this thing is just going to die in a year or two?
Right.
How many viable businesses do we have out there that we can support and help it to grow to be that successful?
And if you got a small business and you listening, holler at your boy. I keep telling y'all,
Hey,
man, we won't knock the stuffing out your egg McMuffin. Get
right.
with us. Miss Tompkins, I see you calling. She said, answer the phone. I just see you can hit me right now. The number scrolling across the bottom of the screen
And
for anybody who
also,
wants to know.
also to add on to what Vince just said, you know what I mean? It's also about keeping our money to ourselves. You know what I
Okay.
mean? This is another way how we gonna get these people to start creating some laws for what we want. They want our money. You know what I'm saying? So if we supporting black businesses, they gonna want in. So you know what I mean? We
Yeah.
gonna see. So it's like it's part of the revolution. We tearing down the establishment by
Um,
supporting.
Miss Tompkins, I need you to turn your device down because we getting an echo from it. Okay.
Okay,
Now we got you. What's going on?
I'm answering a question.
I'm sorry I missed you. What'd you say?
Answering your question.
Okay.
And
What question was
then,
that?
then when you said regarding MPS,
Okay.
can you go into greater detail to explain to your constituents why you're saying such and what the reform needs to be? This young lady, I guess, what's her name? Patience Phillips.
Yes, that's her name.
Mm-hmm. Explain to her regarding why you say the curriculum and things with the money. Because she said something about the fundraising and
If
how.
if I'm rewinding to the conversation, I believe My comments were centered around creating more specific curriculum to address young Black children. The funding thing, that was a conversation you and her were having in the chat room,
Hmm.
and
Yeah, it was.
okay. So I was learning from y'all in terms of the funding. I mean, I taught for MPS. I've worked in schools for the last 22 years in some capacity or another, from MATC all the way down to, like elementary school. So I understand how curriculums are put into place and what they lack. But in terms of how things are funded, I never got into it on that level. I just felt like that there should be some direction of funds toward making something specific for Black children. I mean, because who's failing? It's Black children. The schools in the Black neighborhoods are failing. So now I get it, because it's easy to just throw money away and flush it down the toilet. But I mean, if you come up with a well-designed curriculum that puts the emphasis on literacy and STEM and mathematics and stuff like that early on, I think the kids benefit from it later on. My doctoral research, is centered around the effect of poverty on literacy. And what I learned, the first thing I learned was, from kindergarten to third grade, they teach you how to read. From third grade on, you have to read to learn. So it goes from teaching you how to sound words out to really comprehending what you're reading. So Vince was correct when he said, literacy is a very big problem. Like when kids can't read, they don't typically go too far, and their career aspirations are really kind of stunted. Because I mean, you end up with these menial ass jobs. I mean, don't McDonald's got pictures on the cash register now? Like, you don't. I don't know. I never worked at McDonald's. I pull up in the drive-thru. I see a machine making the soda. You know what I mean? The only thing they really doing is the earpiece, and they be fucking that up sometimes. So
Yeah, and our communities
Oh,
are.
that's fine. The reason, yeah, you brought up a good point due to the fact of McDonald's. Kids, to me, what I see the kids needs in literacy is that visionary reading. Visionary reading due to the fact of the AI era. We need to up our knowledge and curriculum, meaning how our kids are comprehending so fast, but they're not able to direct their thoughts and thinking of what they're comprehending, because they're using emotional, how can I say, expressions for which is not being taught their emotional part of their literacy to understand that. Does that make sense?
The emotional part of literacy.
Yeah. To understand the words, the emotions, your feelings when you comprehending, meaning kids are not understanding. This is from my perspective. I have a 16-year-old, and she understands it from your music, the emotions that music brings to the person. And that's how our kids are learning, through that expression of music and art, for which is missing and lacking in our curriculum for literacy.
Okay.
Get it?
Okay.
They're learning differently now.
Right.
Someone just told me was talking to me about their son learning through music.
Right.
Because I was at the Sherman Phoenix, and they do karaoke every
art,
Tuesday.
music, art, all of this. They're trying to keep the same curriculum. MPS have kept and was voted for, and they took away a lot. I hear you talking about Milwaukee excellent school, even with Howard Fuller. His new plan is an excellent plan. Yes, I'm saying this. Howard Fuller has an excellent curriculum for his students. Our kids are Black students, and we need to support that. I'm saying this out loud. And MPS needs to back up that idea with Howard Fuller and Aisha Carr and Vince Tony and whomever, you, Kevin, myself, and others, to bring this forth. Milwaukee Public Schools have billions and millions of dollars for our students. They do.
Right.
And for our community, they do. So that's what I had to say regarding that conversation in your thread.
Okay. And Patience, feel free to call in to, express whatever sentiments you had out there. It's sometimes I gotta walk and chew gum at the same time, because I gotta talk with the fellas, and then I'm working the chat room, and I got a phone. So sometimes it takes some leg work. So if I misquote or miss something, y'all don't charge it.
Yeah, Yeah, because we're trying to keep up with your conversation because Vince has some very strong and valid point. And Vince, you have my vote if I was in your district. But we should get behind Vince. We should stand with Mr. Tony due to the fact he stands strong as a black man, but which is lacking in our community. All of them,
That's
seriously.
right. That's right.
And from young and old, and he has it. Our elders are missing. He's not an elder, but he is. And it's missing. He has been talked about, lashed out, and people don't know him. Thank you for having him on your show. And he needs to be heard.
All
And we
right.
need to support this brand. Okay?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
All right.
Appreciate
Peace.
you. Yes.
All right. Peace.
All right.
Please.
Vince, they don't know we go back like a rocking chair, man. They know we Vince me and Vince, you know, he's my brother, man. That's all I can say. Vince one of them dudes who got inside information, so you got to be cool with him forever. Like, hey, man, don't leak that
Well,
shit.
Kev, we were talking about Chris Johnson who passed away. We were talking about schools. Well, a couple of my teachers from North Division was at his funeral, and that was really surprising to me. And that just tells you the character of the man, Chris Johnson, and how far he reached. That these people from my high school that were wonderful teachers at White, teacher and her brother were phenomenal teachers. So it's just, how we get back to get some phenomenal teachers, and you can put a curriculum out there, but if you don't have someone to teach it, then
That's right.
it's for naught. So
Yeah,
we've
man.
got all of these schools out here, charter schools and this school and that school. And we got all these teachers divided up. And I've talked to some brothers who are teachers, said, man, I'm through with this stuff. So how do we get people that want to be in this system? Because we've got some very dysfunctional children in our community right
We
now
do.
that at
We
any
do.
school they're gonna, vandalize it or mess it
We
up.
do.
So
We do. And I'm gonna get to that, Vince. You just hit it on the head. JoJo, he said it's time to get control back over our neighborhood. What we learned back in our day, we should teach to the newer generations. Our elders did their job. We have to follow the trend that was taught to us. Yeah, Joey. We were blessed, man, because we
yeah,
came up in a community with a bunch of real. First of all, there was a bunch of alpha males, and there were a lot of strong black women, and so there was lessons. One of the things that the reason why Joey and myself are so close is because my father, any young man in the neighborhood that came around to play with us or hang around us, you had to know him too, right? Like,
yeah,
because he was gonna say, you come over here, you got to follow the same rules as Keith and Kevin. And then ultimately he became like an extension for you. So my dad would load up the pickup truck and we'd head north all the time. And I used to be pissed. I'm going to ride my horse. Why do I have to bring all these Negroes with me? And my father would explain it to me like, listen, they don't have fathers. They don't have what you have.
yeah.
So you can't be selfish like that. Wouldn't you want somebody to look out for you if you was in that position? Which I said, I guess so, man. And then he told me, anyways, it ain't your money or your truck. So what you worried about?
Or your horse.
It was my horse because he bought it for me. But
Shit, it was his. No, Kev, that's a wonderful point because I had a wonderful summer. Some people say I said something, but my summer was filled with mentoring, and people think that it takes away from my family, but it doesn't because it's something that I would have been doing anyway. So if I'm going to the golf course, I'll take a kid to the golf course. If I'm going to a public market, I'll grab some kids down the street and take them to the public market. So it's something that I'm doing within my day because that's what was done to me. I didn't have a father around, but I had men in the community that took me with them and took me under their wings. And I'm hoping that these kids this summer was phenomenal. And I've met a lot of kids through a youth center and just through people wanting me to mentor them. It's just that we have to put aside time. If every black man and male in this city put aside the time to see one kid, imagine what that would do to this city in about 10 years exponentially.
yes, each one teach one. And I think I think that's an excellent idea. And I, being that I work with so many different young men in different capacities, from an athlete to a case manager to whatever, I can tell you the importance of young men having a consistent brother around to help them figure things out. And we start talking about socio-emotional learning, and we start talking about how to process situations that may be adverse or that may be difficult to navigate. You went to the Navy, right? And
Mhm.
I'm sure when you got to the Navy, you had to figure out how to make it. You had to go through that system. It didn't come to you right away. Now I seen you had put up the assessment for your officer who talked
Yeah.
about how good a sailor you were.
That was at the
And
end, Kev. At the beginning, I was shooting dice.
okay.
So
Okay.
I ain't gonna lie. There's a beginning, there's a middle, and there's an end. So I learned how to get through boot camp by watching other people fail. And I didn't make the mistakes that they made. But when I got out of boot camp, I was just like anybody else. I mean, in civilian life, I'm a civilian. I can do what I want to do. It's just that I didn't get caught at some of the things that I did, but I learned from the things that I did and the consequences if I would have gotten caught. But you catch on, and it was a teaching that kind of parallel with the teaching that I got from my mother and from the men in my community. I learned how to be a team player. I learned that what we're learning now in this country is about white people and how much they hate us. Well, in the military, you knew the person. He didn't have a problem telling you that he hated you, right? But at the end of the day, the mission was accomplished. He was 10 toes down and had my back. But as a civilian, just people are just starting to express themselves, and now you know who hate you and who don't hate you because they've been empowered. So I think Donald Trump was bad for the country, but he was good for the country because now we know that half of the country fucking hates your gut.
Well, how could you not know that before? Speaking of Trump, we'll talk about that. He's going to run for president again. People are upset about Trump running. Y'all call me and let me know how y'all feel about Trump running for president again. 262-202-5131. Ms. Tompkins said, say it again and say it slow last time. I say it fast because it's going across the bottom of the screen, just like the Cash App. 262-202-5131. Trump is running again. Now, what makes this different for me is for people who are really angry at Biden about the inflation and whatnot. And they have to understand this is not all Biden's fault that this inflation is like this, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think a lot of people understand the strain that the pandemic put on our economy. The world came to a standstill, meaning things stopped being made and sold. And it was like you had to depend on what you had sitting there for a lot of places. It wasn't nothing new coming in, and it's put a chokehold on the economy. Now, I'm not saying some of Biden's policies, and I'm no economist or nothing like that, and I'm not a Biden fan. But I think a lot of people are angry about the inflation, so this may cause a knee-jerk reaction, and maybe some of them want to vote for Trump this time again. Because I hear people say, man, we need Trump back. At least when he was president, First of all, you have to understand Trump inherited Obama's economy, which was good when he got there, right? So it's not like he was the engineer of prosperity in America. Secondly, there's a great deal of his policies that we're dealing with on the back end now. We're dealing with the residual effect of. What do you think about Trump running again, Vince?
I think he should go somewhere and sit down, to be honest
Okay.
with you. Yeah, period. I mean, he's done enough damage. The fact of the matter, I think what he did is treasonous. When he had something to do with what happened at the White House, and we know he did. So I think something's wrong with this country when we can put someone up there who's going to be the commander in chief, who would allow someone to almost take over the country, is what he was trying to do. So I'm not happy with it. But at the same time, we speak. This is America, so this is how they roll, and
Right.
we have to roll with the punches. It's gonna, does he win? Does Congress come up with some more information that's going to make people think differently of him? I think so. I don't think he could win. I think his own party's against him, so he's screwing up his own political party, which it makes the Democrats, they're happy about that part of it. But at the same time, this dude should go somewhere and let the country be what it is, and
Mm,
go ahead and run his Trump Hotel in Mar-a-Lago and all that other bull crap that he got. Let him have it.
got you.
And I think they should continue their investigation and pinpoint what this dude did. If he's got some nuclear information that he shared with the Russians, then send his ass to jail.
That's right. Like they did R. Kelly. Kamar, what you think about Mr. Trump coming back?
Well, I'm with Vince, right? Like I don't like it. I don't like Trump. I don't like Biden. I don't want Biden to come back either. You
He's
know what I'm
still here.
saying? I don't want neither one of them. You know what I mean? That's just where I'm at. You know what I mean? He calls a lot of bullshit. I feel like he was in office before it was for a reason. You know what I mean? It may have been some people that were still sleeping on how we treated, or how not how we treated, but how we're viewed in this country. You know what I'm saying? By the masses of
Right.
white people. You know what I mean? So I feel like that was needed. You know what I mean? It may be a lot of people that woke up during that. I also feel like during that time, the consciousness of the people rose too because of that. You know what I mean? Because there was a lot of traumatizing shit going on during Dude Watch. You know what I mean? So, no, I don't think we need another term from him. I think he served his purpose in office already. That's just how I feel. I don't know how the universe feels. You know what I mean? But if he do wind up back in office, you know what I mean. I'm confident in the universe.
Okay. Real.
Are you gonna take him out?
No, he ain't worried about it. He ain't worried about him at all. The voodoo, the ghetto witch doctor.
I feel like the universe got us already. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
We made of the same thing as the universe. Can't nothing be against us, and we have to realize that.
Okay. Real, you are most of the time you don't even give a shit about politics. What do you think about
Right,
Trump
right.
coming back?
Honestly, shit. If he coming, I mean, if he running again, is he bringing that platinum package back? I mean, shit.
Oh,
I want him to talk to Ice Cube and see what the fuck they can do for us. I mean,
Straight up.
ain't nobody else did nothing for us. So I mean, if he's willing to have that discussion and set up some shit for us, I mean, you know how I feel. I don't trust either one of them, but I always say I feel like with a Republican, at least you can see the bullshit coming. You know, with Democrats, they professional swindlers. Like when I give the analogy, I say Republicans is the motherfucker that's gonna strong arm pussy, and Democrats are the one that's gonna roofie her and take it. So either way, we getting fucked. It's just that at least with the Republicans, you got a fighting chance because you ain't roofied out of your mind and shit.
I don't like to think I'm getting fucked. I don't like to think, well, let me get up and get fucked. Hey, what you
Man,
gonna do today, Kev? I don't know. I'm gonna go somewhere and get fucked.
I mean,
It sounds painful.
Get fucked, get it
right,
on however you
right. I
want.
mean, neither one of them give a fuck about us, but at least I feel with Trump, he was in your face with the bullshit instead of this old sleepy Joe ass shit that you know, like me, I have a sour taste with the Democrats anyway. Just watching how that whole COVID shit played out in those Democratic states. I mean, those was the motherfuckers with the COVID passports. They was the ones with, you know, so I get a little leery about that shit anyway, because when I think of it, I think of them as underhanded.
Mm. It's Outlaw Radio on a Wednesday night. We're talking about the re-emergence of Trump as a presidential candidate. The number is 262-202-5131. Feel free to call in if you have a question for my brother, Vince Tony, who's running for first district alderman. If you have a question for the ghetto witch doctor in regards to how to get you some nature's nature herbs and supplements, hit us up. And then we got Rail, who has books, published author. And if you need to get in touch with him on how to get your books, we're going to talk about Rail's books in a second. And if you just want to help me because I look like I need help, there's a Cash App at the bottom of the screen. I'm struggling, you know, I'm trying to feed my kids through this. So, you know, come on, give a cripple crab a crutch. But in the meantime and in between time, let us know how you feel. The show is really dedicated to people of color. It's for foundational Black Americans. We only talk about the things that are relevant to us, pertinent
Hey,
to
Cam,
us.
I can say one thing. You know, you asked about the military and being in the military.
Okay.
You know, being overseas was an experience of a lifetime, and I think is blessed to have gone overseas and to experience life outside of this country. I left here when I was 18. I came back when I was 26, and I came back here. The minute I came back here, there was a sudden fear that overcame me about being in this country and being a Black man. I don't know where it came from, but I was immediately afraid to drive in certain areas, and I think it just may have been from the shock of being a kid here. But I think if you get outside of this country and you come back here, it's a totally different flavor. And I think I've said to people before, I can understand Miles Davis and Malcolm X and their experiences overseas, and to be treated by just like a friggin' man, just a human being. And we don't get treated as human beings in this country. It's appalling, and it's sad. It's traumatizing, it's toxic, and it has a lot of bad effects on us as a people, the way we're treated in this country. And I used to think that every young man should spend 2 years in the military. I've changed that to, I think every young man in this country, black man, should spend 2 years in a different country.
Okay. Now
To
let
be
me
able to
ask you a question.
experience. Yes, sir.
You just said something that I found interesting, because we often talk about the good old days. And, oh no, it was like this back in the day. So how bad was Milwaukee when you were a youngster, especially to the point where it made you flee the scene? Now, so how bad was it then compared to, I understand it's a different world, but bad is bad. So how bad was it?
It wasn't bad, Kev. Not in the hood. In my hood, it wasn't bad because we have camaraderie. You know, people talk about segregation and being amongst other people. I think other cultures can live in their segregated community, and I felt comfortable in our segregated communities because the men and the women took care of the kids. And if we needed to see something, like you said, your dad would take you out to different farms to ride the horses. Well, the men in our community would take us to different areas. We were self-sufficient for the most part. And the school system was phenomenal. I thought they weren't phenomenal. I dropped out of North Division to join the Navy because I thought that I had been cheated out of an education. And what I mean by that I wasn't taught at the same level as my white counterparts were. But I was wrong. I think, and I believe that North Division was a phenomenal school, and the teachers taught me what I needed to know to survive in this world. So I think the problem that I have coming back here is the talking about desegregation and shipping us to different schools in different areas, tearing the camaraderie that we had in our neighborhoods. I think that we as a people should have built upon that and become more cultured as a individual culture, as other cultures do. Just take care of our own, meaning have the businesses. The money used to go to our grocery stores, our gas stations, and none of that's happening anymore. So everybody's set up shop in our community. Now, that's one of the biggest differences that coming back here is that how many other cultures have set up shop in our community that take our dollar and spend it someplace else. And we don't have anything amongst ourselves anymore. So that's the biggest difference.
So you talk about taking on something like the hotspot, but there's other gas stations and corner stores throughout the city in all the districts that need some straightening as well. And
Yeah.
I've long said I don't understand, because I get it. They generate money, and a lot of times they donate to campaigns and this kind of thing. There's a lot of kickback money involved. I don't care what nobody says.
Yeah.
But
I know for a fact.
right, of course, I do too. I know. Trust me, I've seen it. I've seen the envelopes exchange hands, and I was like, "Oh shit, that's what
I
that's
ain't got
about."
one yet.
So no, that's why I wonder why they never had buddy. Do you not see me standing here? You could have given me one. I don't. I'm with the shit. Give me one.
I'm
I
not
would talk
taking
about
it,
you
but
on Outlaw Radio. I promise.
yeah.
But no, I'm joking. I feel like something needs to be done too, because we talked about small black businesses. We talked about in a city here where it's supposedly 40% black, one black owned gas station. What? And so we do open. I don't want to knock nobody because they open the daycare or barbershop or beauty salon. That's cool. But I think we need more black law firms. I think we need more black lawyers. I think we need more black medical clinics, because they taking the hospitals away from the city. Remember when that's something that changed right up under our noses. Depending on where you live when you were young, if you had to go to the hospital, you went to your neighborhood hospital.
They
If you
ain't
lived,
taking me from the community.
well, no, not you, but I'm talking about large, hot like St. Michael's.
Yeah,
And
I'm the new St. Michael's.
oh, don't say that. Don't say that when they
Man,
start pulling
fuck
up with
them people.
gunshot
I'm with
victims.
Kanye.
When they start pulling up at your house
Stop
with
me now.
gunshots.
Stop me now or leave me the
Yeah.
fuck alone. Let's
Yeah.
stop.
You better be careful. Shit, it'd be 12 cars parked outside your house. Like, we got 2 gunshot victims. Where your trauma unit
He
at?
said Kanye.
Shit.
Well, I guess
Um,
Kevin, the question is how do we as a people come together and collaborate and figure out what we can do to make some of this stuff happen. I think one of the problems that I see in the city is that especially the men are bucking heads with each other. No one wants to come together and say, hey, what can we do collectively? Because I think at some point in time it's no longer about us, it's about the children. So what do we do as an adult and create businesses and entities that are going to be something that can be sustainable? We talk about small businesses. I mean, we've been around for ages. So where all the small economic developments, the 30th Street corridor, the Northwest Side CDC that has all of the money. So what have they done? Where are these businesses that are supposed to be vital to our community and blacks are supposed to be running them? Where are they? And why can't we depend on them to be there when we need them?
yeah, I just think there's so much credibility that's not in place. Now, you mentioned that Ashanti, we talking about 200 signatures, and he contested your signatures.
Well,
I seen him. Ashanti did not like you. You must have
well,
been a
hey,
complete thorn in his ass because I seen him talk real slick to you. I'm telling you, it pissed me off. So,
well,
what
Kevin,
was
the
the
reason
issue
that
there?
the issue is that this brother didn't come to any of our block watch meet. I'm the block watch lead, and so we're talking one year. We're talking about going down to the Common Council and advocating against the hotspot getting their liquor license. Well, this jigaboo walks up in the hotspot with the store owner holding his fucking hand. And they asked us to give him a chance. This is the only time we seen. The second time that we seen this dude. The first time we seen him when they asked us for some apartments. But so he walks up in there. So most of the members are elders, right? And they're like nice. We had been talking about this for about a half a year, and we were like 10 toes down to go down to City Hall. We voted, and the elders said, give a guy a chance. We gave him a chance. Kev, and that was in 2015. 2016, nothing changed. And his liquor license didn't come up for renewal. So I called the alderman's office. I said, well, what happened? You know, we've been calling the police department, the non-emergency number, asking them, well, you know, this is a problem. Well, the alderman's office said, well, if you call the non-emergency number and you said the hotspot, right? So normally you can call the emergency number and say the hotspot, but on 2016 they said, well, if you said the hotspot and you didn't give the address, it wasn't recorded as a nuisance property, right?
Hmm.
So they changed the game on us. We went down there in 2016, that was 2017, and we had one of the most compelling arguments that you ever. One of our members, Miss Elder Green, was crying, saying that she can't walk down the street, and Shantia Lewis says that, you know, not only does this store needs to lose their liquor license, but they need to close down for at least a year to give the community the chance to breathe. We had a pastor, his name is Pastor Campbell, that was there advocating for this dude to keep his liquor license. And Zelensky at the time says, well, Pastor, why would you want something like this in this community? Well, the pastor says, well, we don't want another empty building. Zelensky told this dude, hey, I'd rather have an empty building than what you guys have in your community. Needless to say, we talk about a backroom deal. Evidently, these guys went in the back room and made a deal, and this dude got to keep his liquor license.
Okay.
And Shante Hamilton, so it ended up, and here's where the community gets disenfranchised. So I was down there we were down there 2015, 2017, 2018. And 2018, I was down there by my damn self, Kevin, because everybody gave up on these people. And one of my elders of the community say, Vince, why do you keep going down and why do you even care? Because they're going to do what they want to do anyway. That's how our community feels about the people that are running this city. They're disenfranchised. They don't give a shit anymore because they can't get anything done. So the last time I went down there, Alderman Hamilton told the Common Council members that I had a personal vendetta against the guy from the hotspot. I said, no, I don't have a personal vendetta against this dude. This dude lives in Franklin. He's coming on 27th and Atkinson and poisoning our people. That's the problem that I have. So that's why this dude doesn't. I mean, I'll sit down with Ashante right now. He's still my brother. We can sit and we can go in the room, we can do what we got to do. But at the end of the day, the truth is going to prevail, right?
Right.
Period. I don't have anything
Um,
against them personally. Is what's going on in the first district. It's not personal. The problem that we have in this city that a lot of brothers take shit personal. It's not personal. It's about our elders and our children having a quality of life where they can survive in this fucked up ass city.
exactly.
You know, Vince, I really believe that he agrees with you. It's just that motherfuckers got their hands in his pockets and shit. You
He's
know
too
what I mean?
deep. He's taking too much. He can't say shit.
Yeah, he in too deep.
Yeah.
Joey said enviousness and jealousy have overpowered loyalty and real love within another. One of the main problems in our community is our people don't want to see the next man on a higher level than them. We have to look out for each other genuinely. I agree. It's an element that you can feel, and I've talked about this before. You can feel it in most neighborhoods. You can feel it in certain parts of the city. The energy, the angst, the desperation. There's certain parts of this city that I can drive through and look at the people and say, "Damn, I can almost feel the tension in the air. I can feel the drama, right? Like it's thick down here. It's a powder keg." And that's why those neighborhoods are really hyper violent, where things happen crazy around the clock. So I get you, Joey. And there's a element of love missing. I don't want to come off like that because I'm the
That's it.
sensible savage, right? And I'm the bad man in black, right? And all that good shit. But there's some love. There's an element of love that is missing in our community. And when I'm not talking about like romantic, soft ass boys to men love. I'm talking about love for my community where I stay. I want this area to be clean. Love for the kids. I was talking with my wife in the summer, because our neighborhood is pretty quiet, and I don't live down there. And the neighborhood I live in now is pretty quiet, but a family moved in with several children, and on a summer morning, to hear those kids outside running and laughing and playing just made me happy. Just
Music
like,
in your
man,
ears. Yeah.
it feels like a neighborhood. I look out the door, they running down not in the street. They little kids. They ride going up and down the street on their scooters on the sidewalk, and I'm like, wow, and it's amazing how much that brings to a neighborhood. But when it's violent and when it's crazy and it's people flying up and down the streets, you don't get that. So once that energy is removed, it starts to become bland and it goes downhill from there. So to create neighborhoods where I feel safe with my kids being out. I always tell people this. When we were youngsters, we went outside in the morning in the summer. My mother didn't know where the hell we was from about 10 o'clock in the morning until what we call when the street lights come on. You might have had your ass anywhere. What'd y'all do today? We rode our bikes to the lake. Your mother didn't trip. She said, "Oh, okay. How many of it was? It was like 12 of us, Mom. It was fun. We stopped and got some ice cream and all this." If my son came in the house today and I said, and he's older now, but when he was young, and I said, "Where you been?" We rode to the lake. I would have beat his ass. What the hell you doing going to the lake? Who told you to go to the? It's just a different time. I mean, you came home broke up, beat up, bent up, skint, scarred. Oh, what happened here? We was climbing a tree and I fell. Man, kids, it ain't safe to let them go out now. I had to really supervise my son and my daughter's interaction with other kids because they got to play. They got to be in front of the house and play and go outside and run around the yard. But as far as how we used to do, we going to the store. No, y'all ain't. Y'all ain't finna walk up there, get in the back seat. I'll take you up to the gas station. It because the community has become less safe, and I'm really concerned about how dangerous it is for kids right now because it formulates a certain mentality in them. It breaks them early. They lose their innocence early when they got to see and hear certain shit. Good evening, outlaws and outlaw family. Shout out to Tiarsha Arthur. I didn't, you know what? I knew how weed smelled when I was growing up, but it was so distinctive. And my parents would say, somebody smoking dope. Nowadays, kids got to deal with, I'm in my car with my windows up, right down the street with my son. In certain areas of the city, it smelled like straight weed. Like I'm smoking in the car. And kids, that ain't shit to them. Now they say, oh, somebody smoking some weed. My dad, but people on the corner, and I'm not coming down on weed because I love weed and I wish it was legal and I wish they would decriminalize it. But I'm saying kids get access to too much nowadays too early. Man, if we'd had internet porn when I was little, I would have lost my mind. I would have never came out the house. You'd have never seen me. I'd have been in the crib 24/7, hiding in the closet somewhere like, damn. Right? You got to get life in spoonfuls as a kid. Like a little bit, okay, you ready. A little bit, you ready. I always talk about us finding or me finding this. For some reason, one of my neighbors decided he was going to get rid of his Penthouse and Hustler and Playboy magazines when I'm about 8 years old. Me being the inquisitive young lad I am, ride down the alley on my bike, look over and see what in the box. Whoa. I proceed to take the whole 3 boxes back to the hood. Hey man, y'all will never guess what I found.
Kevin, you need to stay out of the garbage, man.
Look. Hey, one man's trash is another man's treasure. You know what I'm saying? So, but needless to say, after I distributed them evenly through the neighborhood, somebody got caught and snitched, and then the jig was up because they called my mother, and she was like, "Where they at? What you talking about? They hiding somewhere around here." Me and my brother had taken the most premium ones and kept them for our own personal stash. But I still remember how my when I seen that, I said, as a little kid, it was like, whoa. So it kind of took some innocence from me. Now, can you imagine what these kids find? They ain't in the trash finding some old Playboy magazines. They on their iPhone, like, look, mama, is this you? Ooh, some of these girls, oh, this you twerking, mama. This you? This what you do? Mama got OnlyFans. Like, the kids just get exposed to too much, and we don't utilize the digital platforms to educate like we should in the community. I said this before, I say this again. If you were to get that district, it could create a real beautiful brotherhood between the county and the city, because there is the Community Restoration Act that was passed, authored by myself, yours truly, that's still just sitting on the books, right? Lincoln Park is sitting right there. The Blast Pavilion is sitting right there. There's areas all over the city where you could establish these community restoration centers. And it's like I said, the county passed it. I had to vacate because my affiliation with the Panthers, I left. So I kind of left that with them. Like, that's y'all, like, as a gift. But that's still sitting on the book. So that could be some community, because the city and the county, this pisses me off too. How could the city and the county be so stupid? Because they don't work together like they should. It's the same shit, right? Like, oh, deputies in the park, sheriffs in the park. I'm over here beating the hell out of somebody right across the street. That's not my jurisdiction. Shit makes no sense. To be able to work together, because we're Milwaukee County and y'all the city of Milwaukee, to work together to make the whole place better only makes sense to me. But they play cronyism politics as well. I see that they move in different directions. I understand why it's set up that way. They want to have, what they call it, a balance of power and checks and balances and all that stuff. Shout out to TR Arthur. She said exactly, Kev. Those were the good times. Now it isn't even safe to sit in your own backyard. Yeah, I mean, I'm like I said, I'm from that era where I said, like, we could be outside until the street lights come home, but even then, you could still go back outside. You just had to stay in front of the house, right, or stay on the porch. So we out there all night getting it in, right? Like, your mama come call you. Where was you at? We was in the alley. We was playing tag or something. We ran behind the house. You could be in the alley. I wouldn't want my kids in no alley right now at night in Milwaukee. I'd be like, bring your ass in the house.
Yeah.
Because it's just too dangerous.
Yeah, I think, I worked for Child Protective Services for 8 years, but, also mentoring this summer, I mentored a young lady, boy that was very young. And I think one thing is that we don't know as parents, or we should know as parents, that our kids are being sexualized at a very young age. And I mean, sexualized at school. So her son had come home and something had happened in the boys' bathroom with the boys. So parents aren't attuned to what their kids are doing to each other. So these are boys at school doing things to each other, sexualized things at very young ages. So, we look at the well, I don't know, the LBG community, and we also have to look at the young kids and what's going on in some of these schools that are sexualizing these kids at young ages, and they're being sexualized towards each other. So parents need to be very cognizant of what's going on. I think that even at the school system, that teachers shouldn't allow kids or boys to go to the bathroom. Somebody should be going in there and watching them, making sure anything has happened, because something happened to a very young kid in the bathroom, and other kids are watching it and they're taking it and doing it amongst each other. So there's a lot of things that are going on that we've become such a traumatized community, and nothing's really being done about it. And we're looking at mental health. It's only going to get worse if we don't do something about it. And the one thing that I say, Office of Violence Prevention and Running Rebels and all these other organizations, the one thing that they're not doing and that they profess that they want to do is to help these kids. But the one thing that they're not doing is they're not knocking on the door, getting inside that house, because you can send a kid to Running Rebels, you can send them to foster care, but if you don't get inside that house to see what's going on and to change those behaviors of sometimes these parents, nothing's going to happen. It's going to continue to spill over to the school system, to the community, to the jails and everything else. It's not going to stop, because I'll tell you, I've been in homes where I walk in the house and a 4 or 5 year has a joystick in his fucking hand, and he's driving down Sherman Boulevard. So the one thing that I learned in grad school about the brain is how conditioned it becomes. A kid 4 or 5 years old, they're driving at these high speeds. This is all that they know, Kev. And some of this stuff can't be reversed. And the only thing that we can do is start with a new generation of kids to teach them differently, because some of these kids are gone and they can't be brought back, period.
That's sad.
It's sad, but it's the truth. Until we recognize these things that we've done to these kids that have socialized them in that capacity, where they think that they have to get in a car and steal a car because they've been on this video game and that's what they've done. And they're driving down Sherman Boulevard, literally down Sherman Boulevard at 90,000 miles an hour. That's all that they know. And you're not going to change that by sending them to anger management for a week, because they're going to go back in that house and they hit that joystick again, because that's their high. So we're going to have to start, these young ladies that are having babies now, we're going to have to help them nurture these babies into viable children, and let them be kids, because they're not being kids right now. We got decades of this that are in our community. So we wonder why all of this is happening right now. It's been building for decades.
Well, now Rail is involved in a situation where you talking about from the rooter to the tutor, from the womb to the tomb. We're talking about prenatal care. So Rail, you were elaborating on this because you got a new business endeavor. Talk about that a little bit.
My family started a prenatal care coordinator agency. Basically, it helps soon-to-be new mothers and mothers with children 6 weeks old or younger. It helps them set up a care plan. It helps them find resources for like Pampers and milk and packing plays and car seats. Just things that you would need for a child. So that's what we have. So that's the agency, but it allows anyone who wants to be a prenatal coordinator to basically assist pregnant women, and they get paid through the agency, but they're a 1099 employee. So you basically work for yourself. The agency is just how you get paid. So I've been looking into becoming a prenatal care coordinator because I figure with my knowledge of a holistic approach, I can offer them more than just what the state requires for resources. As far as the state, we help them if they need help to apply for food stamps, if they need help signing up for school, things like that. But I also want to help them understanding how, emotional intelligence is important even when they're pregnant, or how establishing safe boundaries while they're pregnant can really help the generations they carry in. Because like I said before, when a woman is pregnant with a female child, in her 20th week of being a fetus, she has developed every egg that she will ever release as a adult. So, that means that a woman who's you know, into things that may not be the best for herself is affecting the fetus and her grandchildren. So, it's just things people need to know, that they really don't get exposed to on a state level, as far as the benefits of natural birth, the benefits of allowing the baby to stay connected to the placenta even after it's delivered, or, the benefit of allowing that cream or that white mucus to stay on the child when they're first born, because that's actually their first level of defense, and it actually is uh, best for their immune system. So I like the fact that I can provide that information along with the state requirements, as well as my connection to different doulas and midwives if they do decide to select a more holistic approach to the birthing process.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
So
Kev, I
Will.
think that's when I said that we have to start catching these kids at a younger age, and when I say that, that means catching the parents. And I think what Raul is saying is that that's exactly what I'm talking about. Is that implementing something that's going to catch these kids and these parents at an age where you can, and the word that you mentioned, that they can start loving their babies, you know,
Right.
and then now we generationally we've tapped into a new generation of mothers and fathers, and we're implementing all these different programming. To me, it's the what child protective services should be about. So
Mm.
this is, to me, I can see growing into an agency that big that's going to do nothing but benefit the community, to have the right people in the places to help these mothers nurture these babies into becoming some beautiful people.
Absolutely. Shout out to Sire Williams, who is on the Hitting Hard radio show. Vince, you probably this Sire, this is my brother Vince Tony, who's running for first district alderman. You should connect with him because Sire does it kind of the same thing we do
Mhm.
on their network. So Vince, that'll be a good look for you to be able to go and sit down with Sire and talk about the community, because he's very community centered as well. So I'm gonna try to hook you up so you can get with
Yeah,
Sire. I
do
would
that.
love
I
to see you
appreciate
on
it.
there.
Yeah,
Uh,
and Kev, I like to also say that I've made there's a female. I'm not going to say her name, but she's going to considering running for alderman in a different district. I've connected with her, and we're going to get together and have some conversations to try. I think these next five alder people that are going to be taking office, that we should sit down and talk amongst ourselves and introduce ourselves to that body, and bring in some new information. How are we going to go in there as a team and represent all of the districts, and trying to do some transparency into things that look the same and feel the same, and it's going to touch everybody the same way, meaning that we're going to have a better quality of life for the entire community in every district. And I think, what Rail is talking about is to seriously look at, from this whole city, and every leader in this city should be looking at something what he's talking about, because he's talking about saving our people. And I think it starts with childbirth.
okay. Yeah. I know it's official tissue. That's why I want to make sure Rail represented, and because I when I've been hearing him talk about this on the show, on different episodes, I've been saying to myself, that's deeper and deeper, because I've harped for a very long time on this show about the infant mortality rate that we deal with here in the city of Milwaukee, which is on par with third world countries. You better believe it. Sair says, dope. Contact me after the show. The morning shift, MKE, hiddenhardradio.com, the pulse of the city. In my radio voice, right? Outlaw Radio, man. We got a couple more minutes with Vince. I'm gonna let him go. I'm gonna wrap it up for the night, because I know everybody got to get up to get to their plantation in the morning, except for Mark, because he rich. He do whatever he want to do. He move how he want to move. That's why he got his hat pulled down like that, because he's like, I'm a businessman. I'm a businessman, right?
I'm a businessman, not a businessman.
Right. Well, I had a couple more things. First of all, I don't know if y'all seen this footage with this young sister, Shanquika Robinson, who allegedly went on vacation
Oh
with
yeah,
her
yeah.
friends in Mexico. And there's this video of another young lady assaulting her heavily. I mean, like, and somebody who's holding the phone is saying, just fight back. And she won't. It's very hard to watch. She does. She's like, no, for whatever reason. I guess because this was supposed to have been her friends or whatever. Ultimately, this young lady is found dead. And they said her friend said, well, it was alcohol poisoning because she got too drunk. But then I guess the autopsy says she had a broken neck and injuries to her spinal cord. So the question becomes, did somebody beat her to death? She was taking a vicious beating with whoever this young lady was. And I don't know the ins
If
and
that
outs.
was even a lady, G, that thing was
It
she
was it
she
was vicious.
she was massive. Like
Yeah.
whatever that thing was, like she was massive and she was wailing on that poor girl, and people just filming it. Like, how you? These supposed to be
Right.
your friends. Like, how you just?
Crazy.
Man, I don't know.
Crazy. That's what I was going with. Like I've always tried to, like, even with my shorty. See, we get into these parental conversations, and everybody here on this show's a parent, right? We all have children, and we all, you try to advise your kids. But like with my son, I've always told him, you got to understand the kind of cats that you hang around. You can't find yourself in a situation where you're in a room with a bunch of cats and none of them really give a shit about you. Maybe they're tolerating you, maybe they're using you for something. You have to be you have to work on your gift of discernment to be able to tell when something's for you and when something's not. And a lot of times kids get caught up in circles where they are kind of like the butt of the joke. They are kind of like, just the one who get mistreated in the crew. And it's very sad to watch it. But I'm with Rail in, what kind of society are we living in where somebody would hold a phone and video me getting the shit beat out of me instead of stopping it? You can put the phone down face up and stop it. You can break it up with the phone in your hand. This is fight back. And it sounds like a male voice. He sounds kind of zesty. I don't want to say he was zesty because he may be I don't know how old he was or whatever, but he's in, fight back. I'm like, bro, you a whole grown man. Break that shit up. Right. And now this young sister has lost her life. So Tiarsha Arthur said the friend, quote unquote, took her life. Man, it's so sad.
That's how, man. It go back to what I was saying. I think that was last show about the season we in.
Mhm.
It just a hit. That, like I said, Scorpio season deals with the hidden being revealed. So you dealing with those could have been envious, jealous friends that
Yep.
decided to let that shit come to a head while they was away from all of her support system. Like to sit there and watch that girl get beat like that, they either all had some sort of feeling towards her, or they was just too scared to hop in with that behemoth. But
Yeah, they definitely done had some conversations behind her back.
right, and that's that. Like I said, that Scorpio season is it deals with that conspiracy, that hidden shit, that hidden motives and stuff. Like there was some stuff that just happened to me within this week, and all I could do is snap my finger and say, "Man, fucking Scorpio season." You find out family secretly envious of you, like, God damn, I just be living my life, minding the business that pays me. But then, of course, this season it reveals to you who your real enemies are, man. And unfortunately, it was revealed to her, and it was at her own demise because that, again, man, I only seen like real shit. I only watched 5 seconds of it because when I seen that big ass thing swinging on her and she getting ragged out around, it wasn't even a fight. It was no competition. It was just this poor girl getting shit just massacred, and people who supposedly her people watched.
Right. Shout out to Deion James. He said he enjoyed the show as usual. Man, we appreciate your support, Deion. You rock with us. Hard body karate. Oh, no, it's Deion again. He said, look what happened to Kanika Jenkins in Chicago. Yeah, we've seen this. It's unfortunate, man. The fact that everything is just recorded now is even worse. Now, Rail, you had another post because I was criticizing the Black Panther film for the emasculation, the continued attempt to emasculate black males. in cinema that we've seen. You know, America always has a theme for Negroes when it comes to movies. Sometimes it's slave movies that's the latest thing going. Sometimes it's the lonely black woman movie idea, the Tyler Perry shit that's going. And then now we've gotten into the warrior women lately, where these dominant warrior females who I guess make the men sit at home and breastfeed the babies, and while they go out and fight wars and fight off Thanos and shit. But real, you had put up a post of an African lady saying that because she was dissing this
She was
shit, man.
talking her shit. She was talking her
Right.
shit, man.
She was saying this was plagiarized or something like that, or what this original story of the Black Panther was based on. I think that's what it was about.
Yeah, she was talking about. I guess there was a story. I'm not gonna say mythology because she said it was real, but there was, you know, some sort of like queen who was about to be put to death, and she was like, "Well, let me pray to my ancestors before you do what you will with me." And I guess she went and prayed, and they said she actually became a Black Panther and like walked into the wilderness without being executed as they planned on doing it. But what I liked about that lady, what she was saying was, I mean, first off, before I go into it, you know, shout out to the cast of the Black Panther. It's always dope when we can get some sort of content that helps reestablish our self-identity and pride and things like that. But to what this lady was saying, she said, I have no desire to see Black Panther when I know it's fiction, when we have so many real history and stories that can give us the same amount of pride. You know, so that was her gripe with it. But like I said, I mean, I try to look at both sides, the good and the bad. And the bad is this is Disney knowing that if they can give people an inkling of pride, they can leech their dollar forever. From the Black women who feel empowered, from the brown people who feel empowered, all this shit is a money grab. But
and that they established, Disney did establish that in everything we do is gonna be some gayness in it. Like it's gonna be some gay happening, and
I
no matter
don't know.
what we
Hey,
do.
just like
The
the
black
issue
lady
with
who
the
took
school.
over Disney, she said that was gonna be one of the missions, that they wanted to make sure it was some sort of homosexual activity in every meeting. Go ahead,
What,
Kamar. Every movie.
Just like it take us to, you know what I mean, make a difference with the schools. You know what I mean? We was talking about earlier is us. We gotta make the movies, man. You know what I mean? Like we can't expect these motherfuckers to put no truth out there about us. You know what I mean? It's like, call me a nigga. Why should I get mad? I know it. I know what you think of me. I know, you know what I mean? Like, you know what I'm saying? What I'm gonna get upset for?
Yeah, she was elaborating. She didn't seem upset.
We got to create our narratives.
She didn't seem
That's
upset.
like
She seemed to
this is
just be
like the
telling the
purpose.
story.
I'm just saying, I know that. I'm just saying, like, we keep talking about the movies that's lies and stuff like that. We have to put the truth out.
Okay.
It's us. It ain't them.
but
You see, they don't even know the truth. They just know part of the truth.
right. You know what though?
Anyway.
Real shit. Like with this whole shit that done transpired with Kanye and Kyrie, I almost have to wonder if we attempted to put some real shit out. I mean, first off, who would we put it out through? Tyler Perry studio? I mean, like, I think that's the only black. I mean, you know, not ribbon enough shit, but
Right.
I think like that's the only black dude that got a movie studio. So yeah, they could do it through Tyler, but I mean,
we got motherfuckers like Tariq Nasheed, dude, put out the Hidden Colors.
I mean,
Right.
yeah.
So I'm just saying, it's us. We got to put these movies out. The truth. You know what I'm saying? Like, we know the Black Panther ain't gonna be real. We know Woman King ain't gonna be 100% real. Hell, I bet you Shaka Zulu wasn't even 100% real. You know what I'm saying?
Damn, you just fucked my whole night up.
Right,
You just ruined my childhood. You
I know
telling
that
me
witch doctor
Shaka
ain't really
Zulu
look like
wasn't
that.
real?
Hey,
No.
but you
that
get
witch
what I'm
doctor
saying?
titties ain't really look like that.
Right.
No. Shaka Zulu was 100, man. Henry Salee should have got a Oscar for that performance. It's one of the best things I've ever seen. T. Harsha said,
Yeah,
like my
he
mom,
was.
man, he was cold.
Yeah,
Like
he
my mom
was
always
cold.
said, just because you know a person for 20 years doesn't make them a friend. That person is an associate. She said she needs to write the movie and film it herself. Kamar, my big homie said that's fucking real, Kamar. What you just said, he felt what you said. I want to end tonight well, first of all, I want to cover a point. What Kamar's talking about is what we talk about all the time, which is all black everything. We talk about being on code. We talk about doing for self. We're talking about really adopting a sense of intentional solidarity and showing that, yeah, if I got a problem, and this is my problem with all these fake ass analysts and TV, fake ass coward actors and rappers. If you got a problem with Kyrie or Kanye, not to say they didn't, I feel like that should have been something internal. Get a brother a call, and in the media say, I don't know. I've reached out to him to attempt to get an understanding of what he said, and then I'll comment on it later, as opposed to, I don't do that anti-Semitic stuff. I was not like him. I love me some
Right.
Jews. I
You
love
say some
y'all.
slick,
You
yeah,
buck dancing
say
ass
some
niggas got
slick
on my
shit just
fucking
to
nerve.
get up out of here.
Right. Shut your
Just for
ass
them
up.
to show how Shaq played the shit at his movie theater, and he ain't even
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, man, I peeped that, man.
Big Barney Rubble looking ass motherfucker. Yeah. I don't think anti-Semitic. Who taught you anti-Semitic, nigga?
He ain't trying to fuck up his Adam Sandler
Right.
movie
Oh, man.
roles. You
Right.
know, he in all Adam Sandler movies.
And then it's funny when him and Charles Barkley, I did terrible. And then they show him dressed up like women on commercials. I always get a kick out of that shit. Like, you niggas
Yeah.
bought and sold anyway. Shut the fuck up. Excuse my French, because we got Vince here. I want integrity. I want Vince
Hey.
people see Vince with integrity. He said motherfuckers make movies with iPhones now, Deion James said, and we can use social media to post our truth. I feel like we're already doing that. I have to, there was this whole thing back and forth because 21 Savage came out and called Nas irrelevant. I'm going into my hip hop snob shit to bring this home. And we were talking about, just the quality of music 21 Savage has made for the culture compared to what Nas has done over his career for the culture. And it's not even on the same level. It's not even in the same realm. As a matter of fact, I was driving to work today and I was listening to Sirius XM, and I just so happened, I'm going through the channels always, and I heard a 21 Savage song, and I laughed out loud. I laughed out loud, like, this is the dude who called Nas. Dude, you got to be joking, right? So I got on my hip hop shit, and I ran across a post that actually DL Hewley had put it up, and he asked this question for us. He said, who is the greatest rap group of all times? It's in the People's News Network, right? And a lot of people jumped on it right away and started talking. So I said, I think that'd be a good way to kind of shut the show down for us hip hop heads. And I didn't know Vince was going to be here. So because Vince hit me and said, hey, I want in. I said, you all good, because Vince is an outlaw. But I want to talk about who the greatest rap group of all time is. And immediately 8 Ball and MJG jumped out. UGK jumped out. A Tribe Called Quest jumped out. But then people start, Outkast jumped out. Ghetto Boys. But then people start firing off. And I said, man, that's crazy. It goes to show you that at one point this music really represented something strong and culturally relevant and amazing, because it's had such an impact on generations. So I'm gonna start with Kamar. Dion is already in the chat room. He said Wu-Tang hands down. We do top 5 dead or alive, Kamar.
Right.
Top 5 rap groups.
In any order?
Any order you want.
All right. I'm gonna give you Public Enemy.
Okay.
I'll give you UGK.
Okay.
Outkast. NWA. Who's gonna be the last? I would say
Clips. Oh, surprise. Right. That shocks me. I'm gonna have to go first with 8 Ball and G. I'm gonna have to go with UGK after that, Outkast after that, Ghetto Boys after that. And then just because of their impact, and I really want to put a Tribe Called Quest in here, but I have to give it to NWA because so much came from NWA.
Right.
I mean, Dr. Dre and Ice Cube came from NWA. Eazy-E, like, it's like the whole West Coast rap movement was built on the backs of NWA. Rel, what's your top 5?
Man, shit. I mean, y'all said okay. So you know already UGK is number 1 for me. UGK, 8 Ball, MJG, Outkast, Then just because I'm from where I'm from and I do like them, I'm gonna say Country Boy Click.
There you go. Country Boy
Derek
Click.
Note,
That's a good
Yes.
one.
Baby Drew.
Yes.
And then number 5, honestly, shit. I think Goody Mob did a good movement. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, Goody Mob.
Because they like the Southern Wu-Tang to me type shit.
Yeah.
Right. And he said Deion said X Clan, NWA,
Ooh,
Outkast, and Goody Mob.
X-Clan.
Yeah, see, it's so
Yeah.
many. Somebody said Sharon James said she said Boogie Down Productions. I said, oh shit, how could I leave them
Miss
out? Like,
Melody.
man, I
Mhm.
mean, we know Boogie Down Productions is basically KRS-One. It's like saying Eric B and Rakim when it's
Right.
really just Rakim.
Rakim.
Right. So, but Vince, I don't know if you got a top 5 there.
I
No
ain't
lie.
got
For real.
nothing.
Oh,
I
okay,
ain't got
okay.
nothing for you.
Vince said Earth, Wind, and Fire. Frankie Beverly and May.
Shit, Ohio
The
players. We can
Skylight,
do that.
right?
We can do that
Ohio
too.
players.
We can do that too.
He
Shit, we
said,
can do that.
I want to hear Average White Band.
Boosie's Rubber Band. We can do that.
I rock with all that, Vince. I rock with all that too. So Vince, I was playing some oldies last time you was over here. We was grooving.
I
on
know
the
you were playing a lot of them, and I ain't know none of them. I knew a few of them.
Nah, I was trying to get to your playlist, man. But I'm old school, man. Like I'm 70s music is black 70s. Y'all had the best music ever. I don't know what it was about the water in that decade, but the 70s had the 90s had the hip hop shit locked down. But the 70s, just because of funk, just because of Parliament.
But that's the crazy thing though. The
It's
90s,
crazy.
the 90s was built off like the whole Chronic album was Parliament. You know what I'm
Basically.
saying? So like even then, that shit still is Parliament for the 90s.
Yeah. Oh man, we fell back in love with the 70s hard in the 90s, man. We even went to smoking weed like they did in the 70s, right? So Vince, I know you said you're gonna run as an independent, right? And I want people because you're gonna be back. You'll be back. You can come back on. He said, I'm gonna come back next time. You motherfuckers ain't talking about rap music. But first of all, if the community wants to support you, and I feel like this is important, there has to be a GoFundMe, a Cash App, or something that you're providing so people can donate to your campaign within the district. Do you have that information? Have you set that up yet, or is it something you're looking at?
It's set up, but it's not. I don't have everything together yet, so
Okay.
Still in the working. I'm probably going to use the same web page and some of the same material I used last time. So, I'll get it to you the next time for sure.
Yeah, make sure you get it to me so I can push.
Yeah.
Justice for Denari, Outlaw Radio, Cold Blooded. And I wanted to ask you this question. Because by you saying you want to run independent and you want to really focus on what needs to be done in your community as opposed to making friends with people downtown, if you had to come up with a word that would define your candidacy, what would it be?
One word?
One word.
Communication.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's what's up. And that's a big word. And I trust me, I understand the power of it. Believe me. Kamar, we got a weekend coming up. It's kind of cold outside. You ripping and running all over the city, getting money, right? What you got coming up this weekend?
Tomorrow, Thursday, I got my third Thursday event with the Black Chamber of Commerce at Pepper Pop from 5 to 9. I'll be down there with the new Blackberry Vitality. The Blackberry Vitality, I'll be down there with that. I'll be down there with the ginger shots and all y'all other favorite herbs and supplements that you know I got. That's it for this week.
Okay. Real, what you got popping besides renovating your spot?
Man, that's becoming a longer process than enough. Well, yeah, man. But still promoting the book, still recruiting for my family's agency. If there's any woman out there that's pregnant that think they are interested in my services, they could definitely shoot me an inbox, RELLY space JAI. Anybody who wants to be a prenatal care coordinator, if you know somebody who's pregnant, who's getting state insurance, and you're going to be running errands for them anyway, go ahead and tap in with me and I can show you how to get paid from the state for it. And then My TikTok is really booming now. I'm at about 25,000 views for that video that I posted. I'm using that to still promote the book, 12 Steps to Becoming Your Own Dope, on Amazon, as well as my multidimensional mindset gratitude journal that's on Amazon.
Okay. Tiasha Arthur commented NWA and then Ice Cube by himself, Public Enemy, Sugar Hill Gang, Bone Thugs and Harmony, and the Fat Boys, she said. The Fat Boys.
Man,
Wow.
can you feel it?
I mean, come on. Like it is so much diversity and it's so subjective as to who you feel as your top five. And that's what the great thing about rap music always has been is its appeal to us as a generation on many different levels, from the thug in the street to even the spiritually enlightened young brother who's trying to go to church and do this kind of thing. My point is that when things that we create in this country, when we come up with them and we conceive them and they're all black, they're all good. It is when we invite other people in which they become bastardized and hoard out. Our culture is no different. Our community is no different. For a long time, instead of us empowering ourselves in our communities, we've begged for people to come in and do something for us that we should be doing for ourselves. I worked in a lot of social service programs. I've been doing this for a very long time, and I've worked in programs that vary on what service they offered to the people. I've yet to encounter one that can make you love yourself. I've yet to encounter one that can make you love your brother. And I don't think it's out there because it's not a program that's going to be able to do that for us. That has to be something we do for ourselves. When we say intentional solidarity here on Outlaw Radio, it's not just a cliche. It's not just a slogan. We want the world to know as black people that we are black people who are for black people, who care about black people, who are about black people issues. And just because we're pro-black doesn't mean we're anti anything, including anti-Semitic, anti-white, homophobic, transphobic, or whatever else you might come up with to try and salt the movement towards black empowerment, black liberation. Because if you don't really believe in your mind that they throw monkey wrenches at us all the time to keep us to keep our focus kind of disillusioned, and taking off the fact that we need to stick together and stick to the script and make sure we're doing what we need to do to empower ourselves in this country, including building and electing our own officials via our own political party, right? I love the fact that my brother here says he doesn't care. He's not really all that concerned about an R or a D behind his name. The independent will suit him fine. And I think the point he made about it, I'm not running for president. I'm not running for mayor. I'm not running for governor. I'm running for my district because I want to be part of the community that represents positivity. And when you run into somebody who has done the things that Vince has done, when you run into somebody who has the commitment that Vince has, and him and many other people, it's quickly apparent to you that their contribution to the community outweighs their criticism of it. That in turn ensures that they're not coons, right? And
Thanks.
so I want to end tonight by not calling out coons for who they are, but calling out brothers and talking to brothers and acknowledging brothers who are not coons, right? So we'll end on a positive note. And don't call me a one-trick pony, right? Vince, I'm gonna hook you up with Sayer. We got to get you on there to be a good look for you. We're gonna push your line. You know you're an outlaw for life, man. You know you with us. You rock, we rocking. And
Appreciate
just
it.
let us know what we can do. Other than that, man, peace and love. Share the show, man. Hit me up, hit the Cash App. Say hi to the bad guy, man. It's an honor and a privilege to be able to do this. I always say it's a labor of love, but it's damn sure a labor. I will see y'all Monday night, man. Capitol Drive and Act and stand up. Peace and love. Peace to the North
Peace.
Side.
Peace.